didn't create USAID. The United States Congress did for the American people. Elon Musk, you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does, and we control it with meaningful spending. Like $330 million to Afghanis to help them grow crops, because how else are we supposed to get heroin in the States? Or $20 million for an Iraqi version of Sesame Street. Or $15 million for condoms to the Taliban, because who wants terrorists reproducing? Yeah. Or $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. Cortades los huevos. Yeah. Or $50,000 for trans opera in Colombia. To be or not to be trans. That is the question. Wait, don't leave. We gave $9 million to Syria for humanitarian aid. But the money wound up going to Al-Qaeda instead. Guys, wait. Come back. Hey, what's your name, bro?
Hey, Steve.
Hey, let's go see if any Taliban condoms are left over.
All right.
Yeah, I like your sign.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm that if I could dance, and I can't dance for anything. If I could dance, I'm that guy. I'm like, they're as my mother would say, their brains will fall out, right? Their brains are all falling out. Me, I would just be over there going like this. My wife swears I can't dance. And she's right about that. But I would be that guy. I would be the guy that just moving it along. It is all fantastic. Welcome back to the front line with Joe and Joe, everybody. Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello. Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Let us go into the breach. As always, we're across X, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, probably a couple of other places. So we would ask you, if you don't mind, share the live stream. If it's over, if you're watching this, share it, like, subscribe, help us out, do all that fun stuff. But those first three clips are fantastic. So with the last one first, okay? In other words, that's me. I'm going to pull out a word, Joe, from the 1970s. I'm feeling groovy. Okay, I'm feeling groovy because I see the reaction on social media. I hear the reaction from people I work with. Just to give you an example, I was talking with one friend who also has a podcast, and we talk all the time. And so we were talking. I said I really want Trump to abolish the IRS, to abolish the personal income tax, not just tax on tips or tax on overtime. So one of the other guys who I know is a liberal Republican, right? He goes, I don't mind all the stuff that Trump's doing. I don't mind all the stuff that Trump's doing. I wish he would use the Congress. And I kind of wanted to say, wrong answer. That's the problem, is that he's doing whatever he can through executive order. Then he'll deal with the Congress. But whatever he could do, and like I said, Joe, it's kind of making me feel a little groovy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny you say, because people, I heard a good clip today about that, because people saying what he's doing is illegal. No, it's not. It's perfectly legal. It's legal. What's his face? Hansen. What's his face?
Victor Davis Hansen.
Smartest guy in the room, every room he goes into. Elon Musk does not have to have, approval. He established a committee through executive order, and he's an advisor to the president. Everything is legal. All of these arguments are unfounded. And if you think you have a case, take it to court. The reason why they're not, because they know they don't have a case. And of course, the press is basically sowing this narrative and people believe it. Well, why doesn't he go through? He doesn't have to. It was done through executive order. That's why I'm bringing it up, because you said that. He's an advisor to the president, and he's basically auditing functions that tree up to the executive branch. All legal.
Listen, all him and All him and big balls and the like that's a big one that's going along the line making us round, which kind of makes you laugh because you're seeing all these female reporters on CNN and they just keep saying big balls, big balls. They say, all right, so the dude's a kid and that's his handle or whatever the case may be. But go
One
ahead,
more
Joe.
point, though, I want to make.
Go
USA
ahead.
was created through an executive order by JFK. And ironically enough, it's now being destroyed by an executive order.
But it
Another
makes your
fact.
point. It makes your point. If it's created by just like the Department of I don't know, the Department of Education might be a little bit
No,
different.
Jimmy
But here's the
Carter
thing.
created that.
Right, Jimmy Carter created it. I don't know how much Congress is involved there, but here's the point. They all fall under the executive branch. Okay, let's say, for argument's sake, Donald Trump didn't have the authority. I'm being completely hypothetical. Okay, he did not have the authority to abolish these agencies completely. Let's just assume that for the sake of argument. He's got the right to fire everybody. Then what are you funding? If Donald Trump tomorrow fired everybody at the Department of Education, where's Congress going to appropriate money for the
All I
Department
will
of
say
Education?
is this: if you have a case, bring it. The reason why they're not is because they know they don't. And
Well, we go back
a long
way now, and we talked about this a long time ago, back when we were doing the show in your basement. All right, when we mentioned and we brought up the fact that Barack Obama's executive. Here's a big difference. I'd love your comments on Barack Obama's executive orders. Remember, I got a pen, I got a phone. Okay, use it. And those cases did go to the Supreme Court. He had the worst record. This is statistically true, everybody. This is a fact. He had the worst record at the Supreme Court than any president in modern history. Okay, any president in our lifetime. He got beat, by the way, at the Supreme Court. Many cases 9-0, 8-1, 7-2. So even the libs didn't go along with him. Joe, the difference is with Donald Trump, every single thing he's doing is going to pass constitutional scrutiny.
Well, what I'll say is this: the judges that are trying to hold this up are activist judges, and they need to be impeached. There is no place for activist judges on any level in any court. If you are an activist judge, if you ask me, you should be disbarred. Even if you're a conservative activist judge, it is the law. The law. There is no place for activism on the bench. Legislation does not come from the judiciary. And if you think like that and act like that and adjudicate like that, you should lose your license. Enough of this nonsense. Enough of this obstruction. I have no time for it. It's a nefarious model that works against the American people, and people should not stand for it. I've had it.
Well, the thing too about judges is what I don't understand is they talk about democracy. The judges are there to protect, let's say, or to prevent the democratic process from violating the Constitution. Okay, so they have to, like you said, they have to look at the law. It's pretty simple. A judge has an actual pretty simple job. Here's the Constitution. Here's what it says. Is this law in violation of the Constitution? Now, there's other factors. They have to take into account precedent and all that kind of stuff. I get it. Okay. But at the end of the day, the judge who steps in to prevent Trump from doing something that's everybody knows is constitutional, you're exactly right. And I don't care. I'm with you. If it's a conservative judge who's trying to achieve a political outcome, out, you're gone. The days of activism have to be over.
That's it.
Now, obviously, we know it's primarily, I don't care what, no, it's not both sides do it. There are several conservative activists. There are mostly leftist judicial activists. All right. They need to be shown the door. And another thing, Joe, these judges, let's remember something. They might be nefarious, to use your word, but they're not stupid. They know that by throwing their hat into this ring, whoever's it's just going to go over their heads of the Supreme Court, and they're going to lose at the Supreme Court. It strikes me that they're just trying to make a name for themselves.
Well, they're spending political capital and time. That's the strategy, and it's an effective one. And again, people should have no time for it. If we had a free press, people would be informed, but sadly, we don't. So ultimately, it's anti-American and it's anti-people. I personally think people are fed up. I'm hearing voices, people who are Democrats, who have voted for Democrats for years. They're fed up. The only people who are in are people who sadly have the woke mind virus, and there's no talking to them. They're disturbed. And I say this not pointing fun. There's something wrong. There's nothing Donald Trump can do. Nothing. They're rooting against him. They don't. I mean, it's dude, it's like a sickness. It really is. And it's actually
let me ask
scary.
you a question. Let me ask you a question. I'm supposed to look at my fellow American like they have their head on straight. If they're saying they have a problem with stopping sending $50 million to Gaza for a condom program, in the meantime, they know that people in Western North Carolina and in Hawaii during those natural disasters got $700 per family. And they're going to look at me and say, well, we could do both. No, we can't do both. We're going broke. So you have to choose. And another thing, too, even if we weren't going broke, I don't want to spend money on all these frivolous things overseas. I don't want to spend money, Joe, on frivolous things at home. I certainly don't want to spend that money on frivolous things overseas. I think a real American who cares about America, who cares about how we do in this country, and your fellow American, you're really against ending USAID? You're really against it? You think that it's A-okay, or it's here's the question, Joe, that I'll ask you. It's such a bad thing that Trump and Elon are doing to try to figure out where the F our money's going? That's a bad thing in their mind?
It's a slush fund for liberal causes, and that's all they care about. They don't care that they're taking money from taxpayers who have absolutely no desire for any of it, who won the popular vote and the Electoral College. They don't care. That's the underlying message. I don't care that they're taking money from you because they further our power base. That's the message. And that is not what the people voted for, and they don't care. And this is exactly what I'm saying. People have to look at this soberly and see exactly what's not being said, but is being said by the protest. And
you and I have both voted Republican, right? We're not happy if this current Republican establishment was to expand its power the way you're describing, the way like the left, we know that the left does, right? You wouldn't be happy about that. I wouldn't be happy about that. Most America First people would say, well, what the hell good is that doing us? We're pro-life, and many in this, call it the MAGA movement, America First movement, are pro-life. Okay, many people. The Republican establishment doesn't do anything about it. They defund Planned Parenthood. And then when the Democrats come in, they refund Planned Parenthood. Anyway, they get us in foreign wars that we don't want to be involved with. Who the hell? I'd be the first one. You would be the first one to say, well, I don't want an expansion of the Republican Party. I want an expansion of common sense. How's that? How's that work out? Common sense. We're going broke. We have $35 trillion in debt. We need to figure out a way that we're going to curtail spending so we can get our heads on straight and we can start raising money the right way, abolish the personal income tax so that the American people have a lot more money, which will grow our economy tremendously, I would add, because that'll be more money in the pockets of the American people, and start paying down our debt. That means no condoms in Gaza, Joe Rossinello.
Makes sense to me.
And Vinny Oshana's video, his skit, listen, what's usually funniest are the things that are most true. Joe, that's a true video. What he did is very funny, by the way. He's a funny guy. He's on with, PBD on that podcast, Valuetainment. He's one of the panel that Patrick Bet-David has. I think it's an excellent choice. I love the other two guys too. That's a spot on skit. That's spot on. When you talk, we're going to give we're no more for trans performances in Guatemala. They all walk away. Okay. But we're going to spend money on this. They all come back. In other words, it's like you can't win with these people. You want to know why, Joe? You say it all the time at the show, because they have ideological blinders on. They have ideological blinders. They don't want to hear anything. It's their party is what they're loyal to. Their ideology is what they're loyal to. They're not loyal to America. They're not loyal to the Constitution. They are not. They've proven that. They've proven that over and over again. We're going to get into it later, where they're talking about violence. They're talking about violence here. We're going to talk about violence overseas. Here at the front line with Joe and Joe, we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. Joe mentioned Trump derangement syndrome. Joe's talking about like this mind virus that I don't even know. Joe, you can't even speak common sense to people anymore. And we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard too. Now remember, we're across X, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube. But I do want your comment on this, Joe, real quick. Now, I know you usually put together those first clips because they're funny, all right? But they are worth commenting on. That first clip of, it's almost like remember the Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's the composer and, back in the day, and the little flea is like kind of bothering him or whatever. He's trying to get rid of it. But that clip where Trump is the composer, he is the composer. And he's got all the people that are playing their different instruments. He's got them in tune with what he's trying to get done. Joe, it's been 3 weeks. I hate to sound cliched. This is just the start. And he's composing this thing because he had this planned for as soon as election night was over, probably before then, okay, preparing to win. He's got this plan. He knows exactly what he's going to do, and he knows exactly who he has doing it, like Elon Musk, okay, who, by the way, now is the most hated man in America, not Donald Trump. Elon has leapfrogged for the left, Donald Trump, as far as the most hated person. Trump is playing them like a fiddle. Like a fiddle. I'd like to know what you think.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. He knows what he's doing. There's no question. I actually think he also knows what he's doing in Canada, and we're going to get to that as well. I think he has a plan. I think a lot of what he's saying, some of it is rhetoric, and I think he is basically getting into the heads of a lot of people. I have a lot of thoughts on what's going on there because, frankly, I think they're making a lot of our listeners are in the chat commenting. I think you're making a very big mistake if you elect Mark Carney. Mark Carney will destroy your country. You're losing focus. Trump basically has made some comments, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think he's interested in all of Canada. I think he's interested in a piece of Canada. And frankly, I know it's not a very popular idea and has galvanized the whole entire country right now. And in doing so, you have forgotten the 9 years of pain that Justin Trudeau has imposed on your people. And you're about to make a horrendous mistake. And that mistake is going to impoverish regular Canadians. And in that mistake, the West may just want to secede. Remember, Quebec wanted to secede. They did not succeed in doing so. It could happen because I have seen voices on X from Saskatchewan who want to get out. The voice is out there. I know it's not a popular idea right now. I know the country has come together, but I'm going to tell you this. After Mark Carney doubles down on what Justin Trudeau just did to you, people may want out. And Donald Trump, while he does say crazy things, it's funny how one news event has galvanized the whole country. Pierre Poilievre doesn't look like he's going to win. I can't believe it. Danielle Smith went 2 weeks. Now she's a dog. She's a traitor. Right. It's amazing.
That's what I heard. Here's Poilievre.
On President Trump's remarks yesterday, let me be clear, Canada will never be the 51st state. We are a proud, sovereign, and independent country. We are a patriotic people, and we will defend our future and our independence. Second, he has threatened to bring in tariffs on our steel and aluminum. We will retaliate in kind with matching tariffs on American aluminum and steel, all of the proceeds of which will be given back to our steel and aluminum industry, and any surplus will be given in tax relief for our people.
Now, I believe him. I believe he is a patriotic Canadian. But I would tell him, Pierre. But here, do you understand that? Do you understand? Donald Trump didn't just make that statement without thinking about it first. He made that statement because, like you said, Joe, he does have his eyes on the frustration in Western Canada, in Alberta, in Saskatchewan. Okay, that's where the oil production is, by the way. All right. And that's where the wealth is coming into Canada. Those people are tired, just like the American people are tired of getting kicked in the face. And now you're trying to galvanize your country. You're trying to go after Donald Trump and say, well, we're going to match you with tariffs. listen, Mr. Polyev, Trudeau brought your people, 25% of your people below the poverty line. Okay. You try that against the United States, you're going to bring another 25% below the poverty line because you're going to suffer a lot more than us. We have 350 million people in this country. We could turn insular and we could still thrive. We can. You can't. Now, your
It's a
people have
mistake.
proven that with. Go ahead, Joe. You take it
No,
over.
it's just a big mistake. I think I understand people are proud of their country. You should be proud of your country. There's nothing wrong with that. And frankly, the majority of people don't want to be part of the United States. Fine. And maybe Trump's just saying that as a deal, throwing it out there. You don't know. Trump is hard to kind of read sometimes. Maybe he's serious. He's also a little crazy. But ultimately, you're forgetting about what happened for 9 years. You've been impoverished. And Mark Carney is more dangerous than Justin Trudeau. And I'm going to tell you why, because he's smarter. Mark Carney is legitimately intelligent. I don't agree with him, but I'll give credit. He's not dumb. He will destroy you. He is a full-fledged card-carrying globalist, as Trudeau was, but Trudeau was just a talker and a mouthpiece. This guy ran the Bank of England. He ran the Bank of Canada. He's a former Goldman Sachs slave owner, and he will destroy you. And you're losing sight of that over some words that Donald Trump said that most probably were never going to happen anyway.
But doesn't it but here's the thing about Trump. He'll say something that seems outrageous, right? But it gets people talking. And I think that's really sometimes what his purpose is. So let me get people talking. I'm going to kickstart the conversation. You know what? Canada would be great as the 51st state of the United States, whether he means it or not. But it gets people talking. Maybe it gets people a little scared, Joe. Okay. But I'm with you. But guys like Carney, see, he's not a scarable guy because he's a globalist. He's got the backing of Soros and Klaus Schwab and Yuval Harari and people like that. People at Goldman Sachs, who you rightfully said, the slave owners over at Goldman Sachs, okay? Because that's really what they are. The new slave house or the new master's house is Wall Street, all right? And the whole field is the United States in our case. And in the case of Canada, where the slaves are all working is out in the country, and and it's Wall Street. It's Wall Street. It's Wall Street. When you try to disrupt anything having to do with oil, we have to worry about the industries. The oil. No, I don't. I have to worry about me. If the system's not benefiting me, if it's not benefiting you, if it's not benefiting all you people out there listening to the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe, I've said this before. What does it matter if the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P are all at all-time highs if people are paying $9 for a gallon of milk? What does it matter?
Joe, and you're 100% right. And that's exactly what's going to happen. I'll be honest with you. It's sad. I was saying this to my wife, how easy people sometimes, they pull your strings. They use the press and they blind you. And ultimately, it's like a spider web. You're caught in the web. You have to get out of this. You have to move on. You have to move on. And frankly, Polyev, if he's your guy, you got to go with him. And frankly, I get you want your independence, but I'm going to tell you this. After Carney destroys you, there's going to be louder screams in Alberta and Saskatchewan to get the hell out because they have gas, and Carney is going to basically put a stranglehold on anything that has to do with oil, gas, and carbon. It's going to disappear from Canada. Your greatest resource, the resource that will make you rich, he is going to change it, cut it off, and basically that is going to affect Alberta and Saskatchewan. And ultimately, the grumbles are going to get louder and louder when he's done. And ultimately, maybe they may want to come to the United States. Ironically, it's it's a mistake, and it's being played out in front of our eyes. Humongous mistake. This dude is a terror. A terror.
I hope. Listen, I hope people see that. Here, I want you. Here's some. I got a clip for you from Canada. Also, I want your comments.
New legislation A new Leger poll paints a picture of how the frontrunners in the Liberal leadership race might fare leading their party against the federal Conservatives. If Mark Carney becomes the next Liberal leader, survey research suggests that the party would gain a 6-point bounce and erase the advantage held by the Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre. A Carney-led Liberal Party would garner 37% support, with the Tories also at 37% in a dead heat. But a Chrystia Freeland-led party would slide to 28% and leave the Conservatives in majority government territory. More Canadians also placed their trust in Carney with taking on U.S. President Donald Trump than did Freeland, at 20% to just 6%. Pollster Andrew Enns says this is a tough spot to be in for Freeland and an easy sales pitch for Carney's team. The poll reached more than 1,500 adults from February 7th to the 10th, but does not carry a margin of error since it's an online poll.
So, okay, Chrystia Freeland, which from everything that I've heard from you and audience members, she's not a real popular person to begin with.
She's
not
a
to mention
disaster,
she's a little bit. Well, she, like my mother would say, she's a little bit of a scumbiad. Like she's a little
Yes.
bit of a weird. She's a little bit of a weirdo. So we don't know that the Canadian people. But why? Here's my thing. You know, blue collar people and everything else, they always rail about the rich, working class people who vote, let's say, with the left. The rich. Why are you putting your trust in Carney? He is a globalist par excellence. You think he gives a crap about you if you're driving a truck, if you're working out there on the oil in the oil fields? Do you think he cares about you? If you're a liberal in Quebec or in Toronto, all right, or in Ontario in general, do you really think that guy cares about you, or is he going to give you, like Joe said, double down, baby, like they say in the casino, Joe, when you get an 8 and 3 and you got $1,000 hand up? Double down, okay?
Well,
he's going to double down.
100%. And they've just gotten lost in the Donald Trump rhetoric. Everybody is like completely mesmerized. They feel like America is gone to war with Canada. It could simply just be rhetoric. You're getting lost in the fog. You have to see through it. Remember what Justin Trudeau did to you. It wasn't too long ago. And by the way, this was the plan. This is why Justin Trudeau stopped the parliament, because if the parliament would have voted a month ago, Pierre Poilievre would be your PM. This is all staged. He's basically like a carpetbagger. They just picked him up and dropped him in, just like they did with Kamala Harris. All staged. And you know something? You're helping them. Canada, you're helping them. You're enabling the people who are going to put you in bondage. You're already in bondage. It's time to liberate yourself. And I'm not talking about coming to the United States. If you don't want to, don't. That's your business. You vote for it. It's a democracy. No one's forcing you. And at this point, it's just talk. If you don't want to, fine. Don't get lost in the rhetoric, because ultimately Mark Carney is rich. Mark Carney can afford all the taxes and the carbon taxes and not having gas and electric cars. But Mark Carney could fly anywhere he wants. Mark Carney can buy food. Mark Carney can heat his house, and you will not be able to. Don't make the mistake.
Well, no, they really shouldn't. And the thing is this, I want our brothers and sisters in Canada to thrive. If they get this guy, Mark Carney, if that clip is correct, all right, and the Liberals, let's say, maintain power after Justin Trudeau and he gets to do what he wants and impose the hoax, the green hoax, on the Canadian people, and they start suffering more, then maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's what's going to wake up the Canadian people. Maybe they will say, particularly out west, maybe they will say, well, you know what? We don't want this anymore, particularly if Trump is successful in doing what he wants to do here, okay? Implementing his policies here, where we thrive, we prosper, we produce oil and gas, we export oil and gas. We're not relying on anybody. We build our industries. We abolish the personal income tax. I think I'm going to say that every day until it happens. Abolish the IRS and abolish the personal income tax. And everybody's going to have more money in their pocket. And the economy is going to be a lot better here. And the people in Canada are going to be going, okay, I wasn't below the poverty line under Trudeau, but now under Mark Carney, I am. We need to do something. Either that, or they're just going to accept the fact that they live in a country that has unrepentant, uncaring liberals that run the show and that's it. And they're going to run it the way they want, and they don't care if they not only do they care about your well-being, they really truly don't care if you die. The only reason they don't want you to die is because they want you to keep going to work so that you can produce, because they want to make Canada the same thing that the globalists want to do, the same way that the government in California wants to do. They want a two-tier system. They want themselves on top and everybody else is a slave, and the middle class is gone. Get it through your heads. This is the Marxist goal. It's not a utopia of working people and everybody singing Kumbaya and everybody owns, and it's public ownership of the means of production. It's not that. It's them on top and you on the bottom. Like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. All right. But now it's their club. Okay. It's their club and you ain't in it, Canadians. So they got to get it straight. And Poilievre's not going to be their savior, just like Trump is not going to be our savior. But at least he can forestall the destruction that's going to come if this guy Carney gets in, Joe.
100%. People should take note of what we're saying. Don't get lost. Don't get lost in the rhetoric. Remember how you could not get out of your house during COVID. Remember what he did to the truckers. He froze their bank accounts. And then he apologized with no consequences. Oh, it was against the Constitution. Oh, well. Meanwhile, you couldn't go to work. It's just nuts, and it's sad. To be honest with you, it's sad.
What's really sad, and you're joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello. We're weighing the breach Thursday nights, 9:00 Eastern time. We're going across X, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. Please share this video. Hit the share while you're listening. Hit the share. And help us. If you like our conversations, if you're listening to us, you probably do. So let's get more people to like them. So here's the thing. You're dealing with the left on one hand, and then you got to deal with establishment Republicans on another. Good thing about the left, Joe, is that when the time comes, when a president wants his cabinet, when a president wants their Supreme Court justices or their federal judges, the Democrats, they go in lockstep and they get wishy-washy establishment Republicans to go along with them. And Trump has been having a hard time with RFK Jr., with Tulsi Gabbard, with Kash Patel, the three that they said was going to be more difficult. Trump had to basically, you have all the Democrat senators asking these people, are you going to go along with Trump's agenda? I wish I was there, Joe. I swear, I wish I was up for something. And Chuck Schumer or Dick Durbin, that disgraziad who calls himself a Catholic, he's disgraziad. If he said to me, are you going to go along with Trump's agenda? Yes. What are you talking about? Am I going to go along with Trump's agenda? I want this job because I want to implement his agenda. What don't you get about that, you scrumbiad? And here's the thing. They had to fight tooth and nail, Joe, to get to this moment.
Mr. President, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for the trust that you have placed in me to fulfill this critical position as Director of National Intelligence at any time, but specifically during this time. Unfortunately, the American people have very little trust in the intelligence community, largely because they've seen the weaponization and politicization of an entity that is supposed to be purely focused on ensuring our national security. So I look forward to being able to help fulfill that mandate that the American people delivered to you very clearly in this election, to refocus our intelligence community by empowering the great patriots who have chosen to serve our country in this way, and focus on ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. As you've said, Mr. President, this is what I've dedicated my life to, and it is truly humbling to be in this position, to serve in your administration, help to rebuild that trust, and ultimately to keep the American people safe. Last thing I'll mention, that in your National Prayer Breakfast speech, you made a statement about your legacy of wanting to be remembered as a peacemaker. I know that I can speak for many of my fellow service members who are here today, veterans, Medal of Honor recipients, how deeply that resonates with us. For those who volunteer to put their lives on the line when duty calls, but to have a President and Commander-in-Chief who recognizes the cost of that sacrifice and ensuring that war is the last resort, not the first. So thank you for your leadership on being.
the biggest threat that Trump is, and that's why they don't want her, wasn't the first part of what she said there, Joe. It's the second part. People need to get it through their heads. George Orwell wrote about this in his famous book 1984, his famous novel 1984. There must be perpetual war. It is a tactic of the left. It is essential tactic of the left. There has to be conflict at every day of our existence. There has to be conflict. And Trump, if he is a peacemaker, and I think he is, I really do. I think he wants to pull us out of a lot of this BS. And if you're killing each other over there, you're going to need to. We'll help. We'll help you to try to get to the negotiating table. But we're not sending any money. We're not sending any guns. We're not sending any of our people. Okay? Trump, I think, is a peacemaker. And the reason why they hate Tulsi Gabbard, because now he's got a support there in his administration that's on the same page as far as keeping us out of wars. And by the way, Trump talked about building condos in Gaza or whatever the case might be. Okay, that's one thing. Trump's not going to war for Israel either. And conservatives need to get that through their head. It can't be, well, we're not going to send money to Ukraine, but what about Israel? Okay, there's a lot of people that are tired of that knee-jerk reaction too. Okay, where Israel does something and we automatically got to get involved. Israel's got to be warned also, is that we're not going to war for you either. Not going to war for the Ukraine, not going to war for the globalists, we're here to make peace. If you don't want to talk about making a true and lasting peace, then guess what? We're outie. We're out. All right? And you deal with it yourselves. Your thoughts.
3 people that scare them probably the most. RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel. RFK got in today. Tulsi Gabbard was just confirmed. Patel is next, and I believe he will be confirmed as well. Why? Just like Donald Trump, they can't be controlled. She is going to be a wrecking ball. Keep this in mind as well. Tulsi Gabbard is a shrewd politician. Keep your eye on Tulsi Gabbard. You may just be looking at the first female president of the United States of America. She could very easily, if she succeeds in this role, put up a serious name for herself to be that candidate. If not the candidate behind J.D. Vance to be the vice president, I would not blink an eye if that is how that plays out, if she succeeds in this role. She is very good at what she does. Keep your eye on her. And I'm going to tell you right now, as I said in the beginning of this rant, she is a wild card. They can't predict what she's going to do, and that's what terrifies them. It terrifies them, Joe Pasillo.
Listen, if all the people who have mentioned this in the past about those who have tried to, let's call it, take a wrecking ball to the deep state, or even threaten their power a little bit, who said in public, okay, that John F. Kennedy tried to do that, and we saw what happened to him, and now we're getting information, and after all these years, lo and behold, the CIA, again, I don't know all the details, but the CIA was involved. We know that the CIA was involved in overthrowing the Nixon administration because Nixon had the same idea in his head, or the same type of ideas in his head. We know what they did to them. Here's the thing, though. Okay, they got rid of Kennedy by putting a bullet in his head. They got rid of Nixon by staging a coup, because that's what it was. Great book, my father. I meant to read it. My father read it. He told me a lot about the silent coup, which they basically did the same thing to Nixon as they did to Kennedy. Only with Nixon, they moved him out in the way they did through Watergate. With Kennedy, they shot him. Joe, if they were to try to take out Trump, with everybody he's putting around him, Joe, they got to take out the whole regime. Whether it's J.D. Vance, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel's threatening to go in there and completely reform the FBI. Okay, Tulsi Gabbard wants to be a peacemaker. She wants to pull away from the globalists. Stop taking our money. Stop taking our bullets. Stop taking our soldiers' lives. Okay, stop taking advantage of us. No, when you talk like that, you're not a threat to the establishment. You're a threat to the order that they have created. By the way, it's not a new world order. It's an order that's been being put in place. It's just not completed. It's like Joe. Remember in Star Wars? Remember the Death Star in the Empire Strikes Back? In the first one, you saw the whole Death Star. In the second one, all right, the Death Star, the new Death Star was under construction. That new Death Star, that is what we've been going through with the globalists for at least since the end of World War II. They've been putting all the pieces in place until they finally have the whole thing. What these people are, they're Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and she's Princess Leia, okay? Tulsi's Princess Leia. And as the Death Star, as they're threatening to, because they see it being built piece by piece by piece, they're ready to go in there and blow it up again. Okay, as far as the movie's concerned. But in this case, it would be blowing up this plan for the New World Order. But it's been here. We've been living through it every day.
Oh,
It's just
Joe,
not-
decades. It's decades. We've been dealing with this. These people have been talking about this for Clinton, Bush, Obama, all part of it. For once, people are starting to see through the nonsense. And you have voices, and we're going to play one soon. Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, for all of his rhetoric, is actually trying to talk some sense into Democrats, and they don't want to hear it. And I'm going to tell you right now, you better hear it, or that party, I don't think people are having it. Trump has his approval rating is off the charts right now. It's
Right.
off the charts. And if you ask me, the more they uncover, people who did not drink the Kool-Aid are basically going to be like, you spent money on what? You tax me and you take, this is just regular people who are not political junkies, who just work and maybe voted for Democrats their whole life. They're going to be like, really? Really? You asked me to pay $7,000 in my tax after it was all said and done, after I work hard and you taxed me all year, and you gave money to what? I'm telling you, this is just the beginning. Wait till they go to the Department of Education. Wait till they go to the military and see how much they spend, the nonsense that Boeing and the rest of them on their war machine basically overcharged the American taxpayer. Wait till people
Joe,
see that.
When they get to the defense budget, and we're going to play a clip. You mentioned Jon Stewart. We have a clip from Jon Stewart. We want our audience here at the front line with Joe and Joe to see. Joe, you're talking right now, when you talk about USAID, that's why people need to realize that's the tip of the iceberg. You're talking about a mill here. It's like Tony Montana in Scarface. A mill here, a mill there. Before you know it, we got it. So it's a mill here, a mill there, 10 million here, 50 million for the condom program in Gaza. You're still talking with an M in the front, okay? Still talking with an M in the front of that ILLION. You get to the defense budget, Joe?
Oh,
You're talking about tens of billions of dollars every year. We're going to play this clip. Now, remember something about Elon. Elon's going in there with his boys, okay? And I love the way they act like Elon's sitting there writing down people's social security numbers, or he's like stashing them somewhere for some use, whatever. He's going in there, Joe. You're an auditor. You know how it works. He's going in there and he's looking at the books. He's an information gatherer, and he's got the guys who have the technology to come in here and extract that information as quickly and as efficiently as they can, so they could now give that information to the guy who makes the decision. That's Donald Trump. Now you're going to have the Department of Defense is really going to be quaking in their boots. Joe, no more $800 toilet seats. I mean, when you think about it. They laughed about that, Joe, when you and I were a lot younger. 30 years ago, they talked about that. Back in the 90s, they talked about $800 toilet seats and $200 plungers and things like that. Well, what do you think happens when you don't have a responsible audit? And then what you get is you get waste, fraud, and abuse. The Department of Defense, Joe, is probably going to be, it's a little further down the road. He's probably taking care of a lot of the easier stuff first. But in that case, you're talking about over an $800 billion a year budget. You want to abolish the IRS and abolish the personal income tax? Take a chunk out of that budget. I bet you damn well you could.
Oh, there's no question. And like I said, people's heads are going to spin off their neck when they see that. And that's, if you ask me, that is his stick. Keep this in mind too. With all this Elon Musk, we talked about the distraction that's going on in Canada. People are concentrating on what Trump said, and they're forgetting what Trudeau did to them. Everyone has forgotten that Donald Trump is the president because everyone is talking about Elon Musk. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is bulldozing the Democratic Party. He's bulldozing the Democratic Party. It's a distraction. How easy we just lose focus. Frankly, I'll tell you what, though, in all fairness, Musk is more dangerous than Donald Trump because Musk controls the communication tool of the future. X is the future. X is the arm of information for the entire world. And because of X, Donald Trump is the president. Because for once, people are informed. Because you're not getting information out of ABC News. Believe that. Or
No,
even
you talked about
Fox
doubling.
News.
You talked about doubling down earlier when you talked about Justin Trudeau. Have you been paying attention at all? Well, I know you have. To CNN and MSNBC, Joe, they're tripling down, and then they're asking themselves how the hell we voted for Donald Trump. Because you keep talking about transgenderism. You keep talking about all the taking away women's rights. That's not true. You keep talking about trannies, and you're worried about women and men and women's sports and how it's unfair. If I hate calling him Leah, but so everybody knows who he is. Leah Thomas can't swim against the women, and all this stuff. And people are like, you're tripling down on this stuff, and you don't realize that Donald Trump won the popular vote by 5 million votes and trounced her ass in the electoral college. Do you people understand you're not speaking our language?
Well, they should have. There have been people who've been saying that in the Democratic Party for quite some time. That's what I'm saying. They don't want to get it. It's a loser. And frankly, now they don't have the screen of the press that basically filters, that screen that filters information. I look at X. Joe, there are clips. I saw a clip today, 26 million views of Elon Musk saying something.
Yeah.
26 million views.
Do you know
Bro,
if he shares
that's
if
one
he shares
clip.
one of our posts, if he shared one of our posts or anybody's post, if Elon shares it, you're good for at least 5 million views.
I'm just saying that's the
least.
reach that he's getting on this. And frankly, like I said, they have to figure this out, that this is a loser.
Yeah. It's
Jon
a loser.
Stewart knows it.
Well, here, Jon Stewart knows it, but here's the thing. Again, social media. I don't have to get it filtered through the traditional, or what you would call traditional media. I could get it from new media. Now, this is about a 3-minute clip, everybody, but listen to how their brains don't function. It's like this side doesn't talk to this side, and guess what? Now we all could see exactly what they're up to and make decisions based on that.
Like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these
please
pieces for a
educate
moment.
me on
Sure.
what
So an
the
audit is
difference
exactly what you just described,
Yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit, or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit, is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now
it
it's a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
Yeah.
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you
Well,
are
we didn't
not
necessarily-
responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure I
that
didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases, and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good, we should be talking. I mean,
Well,
I'm
it's
trying to
all-
understand
is-
where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which
Well,
really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell
when
me,
I
tell
look...
me that story. Tell me how you're thinking
Well,
about that.
when I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services, and then that department that got that, I mean, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry. And if that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking and that it's not.
And he's exactly right. Now, here's the thing about, let me just be a little caveat about Jon Stewart. I don't like him. Never did. Never will. But when he's normal like that, like when he's having a normal conversation, instead of trying to be smart, because like most comedians on the left, they think they're too smart for everybody. They think they're just so effing witty. And they think guys like us are just dumb because we're not them. Okay. But see, now that was him being somewhat normal and asking her, all right, who is really, really annoying because she's trying to suggest
She's deluded.
that if you don't know, like if you say, like, here's the example in there where she says, well, if you given us this money and we can't tell you where everything is, that's not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. Then what the F is it? And you're the one who went to the Ivy League, I'm assuming. Joe and I are just a couple of dumb schmucks from New Jersey. Okay. And we know that that's exactly what okay, maybe it wasn't waste, but it certainly is abuse. It certainly is fraud. If it's not waste, it's one of the three, and we don't want any of the three. You get an $850 budget. You know what's going to happen? Now the whole thing's got to open up. And by the way, one final point. That's right. I was a kid, Joe. I was a kid. My father brought us. We had to go to the VA hospital. You know the VA hospital on Central Avenue going down to Center Street, going down to Seton Hall University on the left side. There was a VA hospital there. Okay. We had to go there. It was one of my father's friends at the time, and he fought in Vietnam. He was there. Joe, those veterans were treated like garbage then. This was the 1970s, and they haven't been. The last time they were treated better was under the Trump's first regime. Okay, for all of them, Stewart's right about that. You don't treat these guys well, and you get $850 billion, and you don't want to show us where the money's going. Joe, I got to throw it over to you because now I'm getting angry.
Well, dude, first of all, every organization has to be transparent because it's taxpayer dollars. If you cannot show where every single penny went, you get nothing. There is no entitlement. This is our money. That's point one. You have to pass an audit. That's not even a conversation. Point two, she came across absolutely disconnected with reality. Every regular human being who listened to that conversation, who frankly is not drinking the Kool-Aid, who does not have the woke mind virus, who isn't suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and there's a lot of people who are, but a lot of people who are not, more people who are not, who listened to that conversation, and Jon Stewart was being very civil, and Jon Stewart is a liberal, but he's actually trying to help her. And she wants none of it. She wants none of the help. And that is something that people should be aware of, especially if you're a Democrat. Because what Jon Stewart is trying to point out is the view from the regular man. That's what he was trying to do. He's basically saying, I'm a regular person. I don't know the ins and outs of what you do, lady. But one thing I do know. If you can't account for every cent that the taxpayer gives you, that's fraud and abuse. He said that point blank, and he's right.
Do you see? Now, Jon Stewart is obviously not an everyman, okay? He's wealthy. He's very well known. But he was asking questions that we would ask. I'll give him that much credit. And do you see the dripping elitism of a woman like her and all the people like her? These are the people that Donald Trump was elected to get out of the government, okay? See how they try to, or to mention Orwell again. See, they always try to manipulate language. They always try to what do you mean that not accounting where for something is not waste, fraud, or abuse? What world are you living in? Like Jon Stewart even said, he goes, for people like me here on the planet Earth, do you see their dripping elitism? See, one thing they know is this. You see, we, us dummies out here, okay, we know numbers. We know that if you spent $800 for a toilet seat, and we know that you could get one at Home Depot for $19.99, okay? See, we know that you stole money from us. And I used the toilet seat as an example because that was a popular one, like I said, from a long time ago. But, Joe, what about a rocket or a missile or a particular piece of machinery? You don't think that Elon Musk could tell you that thing's not worth $50 million? Why are you paying $50 million for that? At best, you should be paying 20.
Well, that's why they want war, perpetual war, because it's a perpetual moneymaker.
Yep.
Basically giving money to Boeing, giving money to Lockheed Martin, giving money to the construction companies that have to rebuild the country after we destroy it. It's a constant churn of money. That's what the war machine is all about. And that's why they hate Donald Trump. And that is why they don't want to give. Notice when they tried to get the files from USAID, they wouldn't do it. Wrong. That's our money. Absolutely not. You get arrested. Turn over the records. That's how it works. It is institutional thinking, and it has nothing to do with the founders established in this country. Again, people like that lady who drank the Kool-Aid refuse to acknowledge that. It's staring you right in the face. And they refuse to acknowledge it. And as you continue to refuse to acknowledge it, you're going to lose power. The Democratic Party is not going to exist if it continues down this road. Get that through your head. And that's what Jon Stewart was gently trying to tell that lady. And she wouldn't have it.
Right. She wouldn't have it. I the other day, the song War Pigs came on.
Oh, nice.
And I don't listen to it anymore in the same way I used to. Now every time because remember something, this is the 1970s. So Ozzy's obviously in Black Sabbath. They're right. They wrote that song as a protest to the Vietnam War. That's the War Pigs they're talking about. But it's funny how times change. It's like the liberals used to cry and scream, the Oliver Stones of this world. The CIA's got too much power. The FBI's got too much power. The military's got too much power. Why are you bombing these poor people in these countries? And what we shouldn't do that. They're all on. They're so against opening up. The left right now is so against opening up the books on the Department of Defense, having Tulsi Gabbard as the director of national intelligence, having John Ratcliffe as the head of the CIA. They're so why? I thought you wanted to dismantle the military industrial complex, that you've all told us we should listen to our Republican grandpa, Dwight David Eisenhower, who gave that famous speech. We're all supposed to listen to him. Well, Donald Trump is. He is. He's trying to dismantle the military industrial complex so that we have a military, we have a proper defense. We could go to war if we need to. But in the meantime, he's going to be a peacemaker. He's going to try for peace, which, by the way, is Catholic teaching, by the way, or part of Catholic teaching on just war theory, is that you exhaust all means possible before you go to war. And if you have to, there are certain rules in that too. But before you get to that point, you exhaust all diplomatic means possible to avoid war. Donald Trump has done that, and he's not even Catholic. He's done that, Joe. He pissed off Bolton. Bolton wanted to bomb the crap out of Iran, okay? That's why Bolton hates him. When Trump said, nope, I'm not doing it. And Bolton stormed up, what do you mean we're not doing it? Blah, blah, blah. They can't stand being questioned. It's funny the way things work over time. But now all the people that hated the Department of Defense, believe me, when Elon gets in there, Joe, and starts tearing apart the books, they're all going to rush to the defense of the Department of Defense. How funny is that?
Well, it is kind of ironic how the parties have flipped, because the Republican Party now is the party of the common man. It just is. And the votes show it. Don't tell me otherwise. The votes proved it out. 1 in 5 black men voted for Donald Trump. The Latinos voted for Donald Trump. The blue collars unions voted for Donald Trump. The rank and file Teamsters voted for Donald Trump. The auto workers voted for Donald Trump. You lost the regular man. If you don't get him back, you will not have any power. None. Zero.
Well, what gives me consolation is that the only way the Democrats can get back those people, Joe, is they have to adopt the policies that Donald Trump is going to make
No
popular
question. That's
our
an
side.
absolute.
So what are you going to do if he abolishes the personal income tax and abolishes the IRS, which I've now said 3 times during this podcast at the Frontline with Joe and Joe? I've said it 3 times now. What are you going to do if he does that? Are you as a Democrat going to now run on reinstituting the IRS or reinstituting or reimposing the personal income tax? Good luck trying to do that. Soon as the personal income tax is abolished, first of all, you're going to see an act of war, because the globalists are going to try to instill fear in us that we need a personal income tax, because that's how it came into being in the first place during World War I, because it was supposed to go to fight the war effort, and it was only supposed to be on the super duper rich. Okay, what are you going to run on? Or if Trump pulls us out of world politics and tries to be that peacemaker and is successful, are you going to run on going to war? If Trump is successful with his tariffs, are you going to go run on repealing his successful tariffs? I don't know what they're going to run on. I really think he came around their flank and he's way ahead of them. He's co-opted all their issues, all of them. All right. And he's going to do a better job. But here's the thing. You have to have war, Joe, because you have to have a constant state of fear. You have to instill fear in the people. That's what they did. That's what they always do with war. That's what Bush did with the Iraq war. That's what they did with COVID. Okay. There always has to be some kind of strife, some kind of violence. Get a load of this.
This nation, I'm worried that we are on the verge of bloodshed. This is an attempt to take us back to a day that we do not want to go, and we will not go. Therefore, there will be conflict. I pray that the peace of God will win out and overcome the madness that is attempting to take over this nation. And I will say to you, beloved, no one likes violence, but sometimes violence is necessary. When Elon Musk forces his way into the United States Treasury and threatens to steal your personal information and your Social Security check, there is the possibility of violence. Sometimes the devil will act so ugly that you have no other choice but to get violent and fight. Well, someone might say, now, Reverend, you shouldn't be talking about violence. This isn't the Christian thing to do. Well, I will say, why not talk this way? Because Jesus did. Jesus said in this key verse, didn't it? The kingdom of heaven suffers what? Violence. And the who? The violent take it by force. The kingdom of God is a war zone. It is a battlefield. You didn't.
I really can't stomach that guy. Number one, he's stupid. I don't care who likes that, who doesn't like that. The guy is stupid. Elon Musk doesn't need your Social Security number so he could give money to big balls or something. He's got enough money. He's worth tens over $100 billion. He's the richest man in the world. That guy's stupid, number one. That guy also proves the need for the authority of the Catholic Church when it comes to interpreting Scripture, because he knows nothing about Scripture. That's obvious too. But let's undercut all that and talk about violence. That guy's calling for violence and nobody's calling him out. Nobody is perpetrating violence on black people in America, okay, other than crime. I'm doing like if there's crime in the street or something like that. Most of the time that's black on black crime, which Pastor, I'm sure, would want to talk about that either. Elon Musk isn't imposing or inciting violence against anybody, nor is Donald Trump. He's not stealing your money. He's trying to get your money back into your pocket, Pastor. You know, Pastor, if your people are making more money because we abolished the personal income tax and we abolished the IRS, that's to probably give more money to you, Pastor, which, you know, that's why you're in business anyway. You're not a man of God. You're in business. You want to make money. So, but the thing is, under it all, nobody's going to call that guy out. We got another clip for you too. That's a real doozy when it comes to this. Nobody's going to call that black man out for saying that he wants to incite black people to go out and cause violence. Nobody is going to call him out. And that man is a racist, okay? Because he's going to justify that violence based on a fiction that somehow Elon Musk is stealing your personal information.
2 points. He's behind the times. Lightning does not strike twice. He actually thinks the same playbook from the summer of 2020 is going to work again, and it is not. And what should tell him the answer to what I just said being correct? When Barack Obama scolded a bunch of adult black men, what happened? 1 in 5 of them voted for Donald Trump. He should have taken note. Lightning does not strike twice. You're not going to have the same exact outcome like you had in 2020, the summer of. Second point, this is all about DEI, and it has nothing to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. It has everything to do with raw power. That's it. This is about power. It has nothing to do with the message of Martin Luther King that looked at all people equally, white men, black men, Asian men, all men the same. This is about power, and he is speaking about that, and he's basically, if you ask me, twisting the truth. That's very obvious by what he was saying. He's not taking your Social Security check. That is so foolish, and it's a shame. He's manipulating people. It's a shame. And ultimately, this is where, again, people just absolutely need to be informed. They have to look at the facts, and the facts about that man is this, and this is all you need to take away. Tune him out. He does not care about anything but power, his power. He does not care that there's been fraud and waste, and the government's not taking your Social Security check. It's voices like that need to go.
Can I ask you a question? You think in your mind when you hear somebody like that, Joe, right? He's not interested in the people he's speaking to, okay, and them having more money. You know, somewhere down the line, and we say this as Roman Catholics, knowing that the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops are coming out against Donald Trump because they're getting their money taken away too. So this is not us picking on a black Protestant pastor because we disagree with the USCCB, okay? Because they're complaining that Trump's being heartless or whatever the case might be because he wants it because of what he's doing down at the wall on immigration. They don't want to lose any money. We know that. Okay.
Well, in all fairness, on that, like, that is a very complex issue. My beef with the bishops, and that's a conversation for a whole day, they're not painting the whole picture. They're not painting the whole picture. And they're talking about it from one lens. That's my beef with them. There is something to welcoming your neighbor, but at the end of the day, the cities that have welcomed them, like New York, are complaining that they don't have the resources. And that's what they're not addressing. It has to be more of a full conversation, and I don't think it is being presented in that way. Again, a conversation for another day.
Right. But I do think that on one level, the USCCB is fearful because, and I've said this on the show before, if I was a congressman, if I was a sitting member of the House of Representatives, I would introduce legislation to cut off all funding to the Catholic Church.
Well, I'll be honest. If I was a bishop, I'd not want government money because money has strings. I don't want money from you. Nothing. I have God. Right. God has plenty of money. I don't want anything. Zero from the government.
I agree. I agree with you 1,000. That's my point to you. I agree with you 1,000%.
But I don't think that's what I think. There's some of them. I can't speak from the heart. There is something to what they're saying. Like I don't want to be a political idolater. Like there is something to what they're saying that people should pray about. We should have a border. We have to regulate immigration. They're not saying that as fully as they should be. Cities that have taken in people don't have the resources, New York being one of them. Adams has been very forthright. They're not saying that. What's the plan to spread these people out? I don't hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not... You know what I'm saying? It's not.
I agree.
What about the crimes that took place at the border?
Yeah.
The child trafficking, the rapes? I didn't hear that. So this is my point. It's a very myopic view. And I'm not going to judge them. I don't know what's in their heart. But what I am, it's a complex issue. People should consider it. But if I was the Catholic bishops, I'm not saying they're doing it for money. What I am saying is I don't want your money, because money many times involves influence. I don't want your money. God has plenty of money. Again, a conversation for another day. But
It is, but I was only making a comparison to say that they've obviously gotten some of the money that they get for some of their immigration programs has been cut. And my only point is I was going to compare it to this man, because I guarantee you, because when you look at like all these pastors and churches and things like that, you say you have a cause, they get money from the government too. In other words, USAID or whatever agency is giving this guy money, they get money too. They all get money. My thing is this, I'm with you on that. Okay. If you truly trust in God, you don't take any money from the federal government, and you get it from the people who you're preaching to. And if you have enough money to do the things you need, you have enough money. And if you don't, pray harder. Okay. But like you said, you take money from it. Look, we won't get into it all, but I still say that the Catholic Church's reaction to COVID was because of money, because they didn't want to speak out, because they didn't want to be threatened by the Democrats. They want their money. I'll leave it there. But this guy is inciting violence, though, because he's trying to tell these black people that they should go out and cause violence because Elon Musk is taking their Social Security check. Again, Joe, my brains are about to explode.
No, that's
But then
crazy.
it gets worse. Then it gets worse. See, this guy's full of hot air. Watch this clip. These people that we're going to show you right now at the front line with Joe and Joe, these guys are not full of hot air.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
There's also another politician. He's the president of the Black First Land First political party, the BLF. And he spoke at a rally a couple of years back in which he urged the crowd to kill white people, their children, and their pets. I'm going to see if we can expand this here and play this clip for you guys. Take a look at this clip here.
For each one person that is being killed by the taxi industry, will give 5 white people. For every one black person you kill, will give 5 white people. You kill one of us, we'll kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, we'll kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, kill 5 of you. You kill one of us, we'll kill 5 white people. We'll kill the children, we'll kill the women, we'll kill anything.
Kichima. Simran Konto Alliance. Shoot to kill. Come on.
Shoot to kill. Shoot to kill. Remember last week you said you told the Jews in Israel, come to Teaneck, New Jersey. Get out of there. Okay? Now, obviously, if you know, people hear that and they get all bent out of shape. You're not saying that in a bad way. You're saying, look, it's nothing but problems. You use the point. You say, if you're a father and you're an Israeli and you have a family, you have a wife, you have a family, get out of Dodge, sell your house, or if you're just rent, just get out, pick up, move to New Jersey. I would tell all the white people in South Africa, listen, we know historically, you know, we understand the land eventually, much of the plot of land that you're farming was yours. But here's the thing. You're risking your life because guys like this, they already, and shame on the world, shame on the American media that they don't want to.
I was just going to say that.
Shame
Why
on
isn't this
them
being
when
broadcast?
these black men, and that's what they are, they're black men in mass, and they go into the homes of white farmers in South Africa and they kill them all and they take their land. Robert Mugabe did the same thing. Okay. In other words, kill the white farmers. Their justification was, well, your grandfather and your great grandfather, well, they killed my great grandfather. That's always their justification. Prior violence justifies present and future violence. That's their justification. There's no stopping them. Okay. They will kill you all. So Donald Trump should turn around and really piss off the liberals too. Say all white South Africans come to the United States. The black ones, you can stay there. If you want to kill everybody, if you want the farms, you could have the farms. Okay. I don't care how that sounds, but I'm just making a rhetorical point. Okay. Is that Trump should say, come here. We know you're hardworking people. We got plenty of farmland. Come here. You'll thrive, and leave these people to themselves. Because listen, if they think they could do a better job at running governments, all I can remind them of is Robert Mugabe or Idi Amin or so many others in Africa. Go find your rights with them.
the media should be on the American media. People should see that. They'll never do it because they're people of color and it goes against the narrative. That's point one. Point two, no business. South Africa should be a pariah nation as a result of that. A pariah nation. I don't care what, you don't do business at all. They should be viewed like North Korea. 3, where's the UN? Where is the UN? Not a word, not a peep. That is a disgrace, what we just heard. A disgrace. Every person of goodwill in the entire world should see that clip. And they should and they don't, because our media is biased and it's a disgrace. Our media, one of the most prophetic things that Donald Trump ever said is the American media is the enemy of the American people. And it is, because you don't know what's going on in the world. You simply don't. You listen to what you hear and you eat it up. And that's sad because they're manipulating you through that media. Did you know that was going on? I bet you didn't.
No, it's the truth, and their hypocrisy. And again, this speaks to why we're at the moment that we're in here 3 weeks into Donald Trump's presidency. This is why what happened in November happened, because people now, because of Elon Musk, and I'll give him credit, because of Mark Zuckerberg, you could post a lot more freely now on Facebook than you could before. So people like Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know who owns Rumble, but you have that as a social media platform. People are saying, I don't need to listen to CNN, MSNBC, because I could go on social media and I could see all these things that are going on. I could have it all fact checked. There's comments, just like we have. There's a couple of hundred comments in our thing, our comment box right now, where people could go back and forth and they could fact check one another. We don't need them. We don't. That's their biggest threat. That's the biggest thing, Joe, that makes me hopeful that Donald Trump is going to be able to go at breakneck speed. I think he's going to buck history just like he already did by getting elected. I think if he's successful in doing all the things he wants to do, the midterms are going to be even more of a drubbing for the Democrats. They're not going to do historically what they always do, because what are they going to offer? Going back to Joe Biden? Once they get especially now, it'll be the 5th time, if we abolish the personal income tax and abolish the IRS. In other words, you think that people are going to want to go back to Biden or Obama? Okay. If we do this, that's why social media, new media is so powerful. That's why Joe and I ask you, like, subscribe, and share. Do all that fun stuff. Help us out. Joe, I'll give you the final word tonight.
All I will say is this: you work hard, whether you're in Canada or whether you're in America. Do you want to give all your money to a government that wastes it on issues that don't belong in your country, or frankly don't impact you? I don't think you do, because I don't. And ultimately, you have to see through the fog. We have to look through the fog and put down your political ideological hats, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in America. How is it benefiting you? That's the question. Look in your refrigerator. It should tell you everything you need to know.
That's right. That's right. Now, listen, we got a clip for you on the way out, so stick around and watch that. Thanks for joining us here at the Front Line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo and Joe Rossinello, always going in the breach, Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time. I didn't get a chance to do any shout-outs tonight, but you know that we love you all. Please pray for us. We'll be praying for you. Please help us out. Let's spread the word a little bit more, so wherever you're watching this, share the video. Remember, until next week, that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere. We'll talk to you soon.
At the heart of America's story, where the fight for freedom is rooted in the very soil, there exists a silent weapon as potent as any musket or cannon.
Fresh off the press.
This is the tale of memetic warfare, a battle waged not with bullets, but with ideas, symbols, and slogans that have shaped the very essence of our nation. It all started with a stark image: Benjamin Franklin's "Join or Die," a powerful call for unity among the colonies. This wasn't just an illustration. It was a meme that ignited the spirit of collective resistance, a precursor to the identity of a nation yet to be born. From resistance to rebellion, the Gadsden flag, with its coiled rattlesnake and the warning, "Don't tread on me," symbolized the colony's readiness to strike back against oppression. This flag was more than fabric. It was a declaration of defiance, a visual shout for liberty that echoed through the heartbeat of revolution, igniting a fight for freedom from tyranny. As time marched forward, new icons emerged. Uncle Sam, with his finger outstretched, beckoned. "I want you for the U.S. Army." This image transcended mere recruitment. It was an invitation to join a greater cause, to defend the homeland. A meme that echoed through generations. It became synonymous with American resolve. The rise of political cartoons and mass media opened a new frontier for mimetic storytelling. Satirical sketches in newspapers gave way to TV clips, and eventually, the internet transformed the battlefield once again. Memes, no longer confined to print, became instant shareable weapons in shaping public opinion and common understanding. Fast forward to today, and the Dilly Meme team wages digital warfare with unmatched prowess. Their creations don't just entertain, they reshape narratives with viral force. And on June 14th, in the 2024 election, they emerged as messaging masters, using memes to redefine the art of political storytelling. Their strategy, equal parts sharp humor and pointed satire, reached deep into the national discourse, rallying support and altering perceptions. This wasn't just about winning votes. It set a new standard for how campaigns engage with the electorate, proving memes can sway opinions, mobilize communities, and shape modern political engagement. As we look ahead, the struggle for minds and hearts continues, fought not with swords, but with ideas. Memes are our banners, our battle cries, our charge, sparks of the American epic. They tell us who we've been, who we are, and who we might become, charting the course of a nation still writing its story. This is our legacy, and the best is yet to come.